Hello, my name is Isaac Moody, and today I'm going to be talking in detail about my group's film idea, Grimm, and the influences that we plan on incorporating into the film from the directing style in Martin Brest's film, Meet Joe Black. Our film, Grimm, is essentially the tragic story of the romance between our protagonist, Agnes, and Grimm, who is literally death. The two meet and fall in love, but it becomes clear that the more time Agnes spends around Grimm, the more her health deteriorates. Eventually it gets to the point that it becomes too much for Agnes' system, and at the climax of the film she dies, completely emotionally crushing Grimm, causing him to cast aside his duty as death, vowing never to reap another soul again. Our first conundrum was deciding how to portray death. Of course, the thought did cross our mind to have him shown in full cloak and scythe, like something off of the Grim Adventures of Bill and Mandy.
It's like for topiary.
Quite.
But we quickly decided to go for something a bit more subtle. One film that really interests me and that could be applied to this subject area is Meet Joe Black. Martin Brest's directing style in this film is fantastic, and I would love to mirror a few of the techniques he used to represent death in our film. Within the film, death has taken human form in the shape of Joe Black, a recently deceased young man. When Joe visits an elderly businessman named Bill, the pair of them form a deal. Bill will be allowed a few extra days to live in return for Joe being able to spend time with him and his family in order to find out what it's like to be human. This deal sounds ideal for the pair of them until Joe begins to fall in love with Bill's daughter.
You know, I was thinking, I don't want you to be my doctor. I don't want you to examine me and...
Why?
Because I like you so much.
Martin Brest's representation of death is, in my opinion, the most interesting of any film that features death as a predominant character. Brad Pitt's performance clearly shows a huge change in the character of death from the beginning of the film to the end. At the beginning of the film, Joe Black is cold, calculated and daunting, clearly separated from any human emotions and therefore clearly a long way from being human. The more time Joe spends in human company, it appears the more human he becomes. This is something I would really like to weave into our film. Of course, our character Grimm isn't portrayed as a villain, but I think steps should be taken to ensure he isn't seen as completely human either, and a slight change in character and temperament throughout the film would be good. Look at this comparison of Joe Black from the beginning of the film.
Have piqued my interest. Call it boredom. The natural curiosity of me, the most lasting and significant element in existence, has come to see you.
About what?
I want to have a look around before I take you.
And now at the end.
Wouldn't worry about it, Bill. These things have a way of working out. Would you mind if I express my gratitude? For you. For the time you've given me. For the person you are.
The change in character is astronomical. Another thing that Martin Brest does is create a slightly sinister or uncomfortable atmosphere. He does this through long drawn out periods of absolute silence. These periods of silence are often filled with a long single close-up of Joe's face. In this shot, he isn't blinking, and the extended eye contact that would make most humans feel uncomfortable clearly doesn't faze him. In a way, he looks more inquisitive than anything, like he is studying something, not something that most humans would do inches from someone else's face. This is another way of reminding the audience that as human as Joe may appear, he is still a very long way from it. There is a very calm and slow feel to the entire film, like, really slow. This works for the film and the style that the director was going for though. In the long drawn out shots and very meticulous choice of words from Joe Black seems to represent the fact that as death, Joe literally has all the time in the world. Nothing is rushed, and as a supposedly ancient being, Joe carries himself as such. This is something I think would also be great if applied into our film, as although death is played alongside our protagonist and not necessarily an evil being, he should have a very wise and educated aura surrounding him. So in summary, Meet Joe Black could be used as an excellent handbook when determining how to approach portraying death as an on-screen character. Whilst we are a long way from having Grimm played in a hooded cowl and a huge scythe,
Death!
Death? We don't want any.
I have come
for Bart Simpson.
There are still plenty of shooting techniques available to us to remind the audience that they are not looking at a human being, whether it be his cold persona at the beginning, the extended, slightly uncomfortable moments of silence, or the even more uncomfortable close-ups. We have plenty of things that we can work with going into this film. Thank you for watching.